جزاك الله خير. Yep, it's okay.
نعم تفضل.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. Tonight is now the 29th night of Safar 1446, which is equivalent to the 1st of September 2024. And we are studying the book Al-Qawaa'id Al-Muthlaa fi Sifati Allah Ta'ala wa Asma'ihi Al-Husna, exemplary principles concerning the beautiful names and attributes of Allah, by the Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih Al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah, who died in 1421. In the English translation of the book, we have reached page 77, which is the sixth principle concerning Allah's attributes. The dangers of tamthil and takyif. Affirming his attributes requires one to shun two very dangerous
That you can do it, what is not haram, and you go and do it. What happened? That you're doing for your parents. Ahmed, I don't know what we lost you here because we could hear something like a radio.
We've got some people speaking on Zoom.
Okay, can you? No, right. How can I give you the? Okay, let me just give you the. I have to switch off from here and give it to you. Okay. All right. What comes in, please don't just mute yourself because I'm on the phone. I'm really terrible. Ahmed, ask the co-host this. Yeah, your co-host now, Ahmed. Right, Ahmed, just stop the meeting, please.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Sorry,
The sixth principle.
the sixth principle. The sixth principle concerning Allah's attributes. The dangers of tamthil and takyif. Affirming his attributes requires one to shun two very dangerous faults, tamthil and takyif. Tamthil is when...
As we're going through the book, Al-Qawaa'id Al-Muthlaa في أسماء الله وصفاته العلى, Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, we are going through the principle regarding the sifat, the attributes. And we have discussed already the principle regarding the names. If you want to refer back to them, they are on the videos, explained, inshallah, as much as we can. And the thing that you need to remember always, the asma, if you put it in a circle, is within the circle of the sifat, within the circle of the af'al. So the akhbar is the akhbar, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells about himself, like al-makr, all of that, then this is all of it bigger than the sifat. Sifat is smaller than that. And the asma is the smallest circle of all. So whatever is a name is an attribute and a khabar. But it's not every attribute is a name, not necessary. But every attribute is a khabar. And not every khabar or fi'l is to be a name or an attribute. So every name has to have an attribute, has to have a khabar as well. Okay? Right, so now here it's saying the sixth principle. We need to make sure that we avoid these two dangerous things. What are they? Tamthilun wa takyif. Tamthil, you could call it in English anthropomorphism. I'm going to explain that inshallah. And takyif, to give a description to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with three ways, as we're going to see inshallah in due course. Right, so let's just now go to the definition according to the tamthil. Tafadhal.
Jazakallah khairan, Shaykhana. Tamthil is when the affirmer believes that the attributes he affirms for Allah are similar to the attributes of the creation. This belief is falsehood.
So this tamthil, it means that a person is saying Allah has got a hearing like our hearing, maybe a bit stronger. He sees like we see, maybe a bit further. So he is giving a similarity of the attributes of Allah to the creation. You could even go worse. He's got a sight like a hyena, even worse than a human being. And that is in itself, Fadl Ahmed, continue.
This belief is falsehood as understood from both textual and intellectual evidence. Textual evidence, Allah the Exalted has said, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There is nothing similar to him. Also, he has said, أَفَمَنْ يَخْلُقُ كَمَنْ لَا يَخْلُقُ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Then is the one who creates like the one who does not create? Do you not reflect? And he also said, هَلْ تَعْلَمُ لَهُ سَمِيًّا. Do you know anything comparable to him? And he also said, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And there is nothing comparable to him.
Right. I'm sorry, Ahmed, I can't read the verses for you because I have to take the microphone, come back, and it's not going to be something which is functional. I need another microphone. It would have been better for me, then I don't have to go do this and that. Otherwise, I would have recited the verses. Right. So the thing is to disprove that there is no tamthil to Allah Azza wa Jal is that we have two types of evidences. One which is to do from the text, we call it as-sama'. Here, قال الله قال رسول. And also one from the intellectual. From the text, Allah, when he said, ليس كمثله شيء, there's nothing like unto it. If he says there is nothing like unto him, how can you make there is somebody or something looks like the Allah, the Almighty? Also, Allah, he said that فَمَنْ يَخْلُقُ كَمَنْ لَا يَخْلُقُ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. The one who creates, is he like similar in attributes or in anything like the one who cannot create, which is us? We cannot create here a human being, we cannot create something to do with life, we cannot create heavens and earth, we cannot create sun and moon. Yes, we could create a bag and laptop and all of that. Can't create something which is the human being cannot create, is beyond his capability. Also, Allah he said, هَلْ تَعْلَمُ لَهُ سَمِيًّا. Do you know something that has the same name as the Allah? Allah has got only the name Allah and nobody else. هَلْ تَعْلَمُ لَهُ سَمِيًّا. Also, it means the name and also something which is similar to Allah. We don't know. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And he has nobody which is has the same power as he is. Kufuwan ahad means like him. I can't just ask for me for this because I'm losing power.
Intellectual evidence. This is from a number of angles. Firstly, everyone knows that there are differences between the Creator himself and the creation. This necessitates that there be differences in their attributes, since the attributes of each and every thing are attributes that befit it, as is apparent in the various things Allah created. For example, the strength of a camel is not like the strength of an atom. So when it becomes clear...
Not an atom here, no, an ant. Because dharra, it means ants. He's explained it in a different way. Dharra is an ant. So you cannot really compare a camel to an atom, compared to the ant. No.
So when it becomes clear that the created things differ between themselves in attributes that they share in common, then it becomes even more clear that there must be a stronger and more obvious difference between the attributes of the creation and the attributes of the Creator.
Right. So here it says to you that also from the angle of intellectual proof, we have a number of ways to disprove the ones who are saying Allah's attributes looking like the creation. And that is, if we have a difference between the essence of the Creator and the difference between the essence of the creation. Of course, Allah has got an essence that suitable to Him. It is different from the essence of the creation. And that also entails that there is a difference of the attributes, because each essence has a different attributes, because we have essence of the Almighty. It has its own attributes, different from the attributes of the essence of the creation. And each attribute is suitable to that essence. Each attribute is suitable to what his capability is. So if we could see here the difference, not just only between the creator and the creation, but in the creations themselves. A man is not like a child, and they're from the same species. Animal like a cow, different from the ant, from the same species. You don't never gonna say that the ant is gonna defeat a camel, except in Hollywood films or something like that. Reality, it's not correct. So if we know that there is a difference, and we could really stand with that for a fact, between the creations themselves, then definitely the difference between the creator and the creation is more obvious. From the second angle here, from the intellectual, also.
Secondly, it can be said, how can the Lord, the perfect creator, the one who is perfect from all angles, be similar in his attributes to his creation that he provides for, while they are deficient and in need of someone to take care of them? Isn't believing this taking away from the right of the creator, since making the perfect one similar to a deficient one causes him to be deficient as well?
Right. So the second angle here of the intellectual proof is to say that no way that we could make tamtheel to Allah, giving similarity to Allah, is that Allah is perfect from all angles. No way he's going to be similar to the one who is created, who has deficiency. One of the deficiencies that you have, you go to the toilet. You need to go to the toilet, regardless of who you are, how rich you are. You go to the toilet, and the king goes to the toilet as well. So how can we attribute that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So that's as well the making the similarity of the perfect to the one who's got deficiency. That's something is nuisance.
Thirdly, we witness created things that share the same name but differ in their details and realities. We see that the human being has a limb that is not like the limb of an elephant, while the elephant has strength that is different from the strength of a camel, while they are both possessors of the same attribute called strength. Both have limbs and both have strength, while between the two there is a clear difference in their details. So then it becomes known that the sharing of a name of an attribute does not necessitate sharing the same qualities.
Right. So
Tashbih.
here as well, the third angle, which is similar to the first angle, is that to say that we could see with our own eyes. And when we see that it's a complete certainty, we see with our own eyes that we have the hand of the human being. It's not like the hand of the elephant. And if that is the hand of the elephant got legs. Let's say the front one we call hands and the back one's called the legs. And also he has a strength which is not like the strength of the camel, even though they have the same name. That means this is a hand, it's a hand. This is strength, this is strength. We have difference between them. So having a common name doesn't mean that they have the same similarity. So when Allah has got a hand, we have a hand. Why does it jump to your mind that the hand of Allah is looking like our hand? How? Why? Why did it have to jump when it didn't jump to your mind when we said the leg of the man and the leg of the animal? Had it jumped to your mind that the leg of the hand, the leg of the hand, the leg of the man, and the leg of the foot of the elephant the same? Even though the same names, it's different. Right? Let's go now to Tashriq al-Talbih.
Tashbih. A tashbih is similar to tamthil. The difference between these two words is that tamthil is to claim total equality in all attributes, while tashbih is to claim equality in most, but not all attributes. Therefore, to negate tamthil is more appropriate and in accordance with the Quran. Allah said, there is
Which means
nothing
there's
similar
nothing
to
like
him.
onto him. Now, so it says Tashriq. Tashriq is, like tamtheel, but the difference is Tashriq, he is similar not from all angles. Tamtheel is similar from all angles. We're using the word, we say that these attributes belongs to Allah. نثبتها, we affirm these attributes بلا تمثيل. We don't let's say بلا تشبيه. Why? We're using the expression of the one of the Quran. ليس كمثله شيء. Okay? Because here some scholars say بلا تشبيه, but the better word بلا تمثيل, not to give the similarity to Allah. Also, now we come into the takyif, which is a different category. Problem.
Takyif is when the affirmer believes in a specified understanding of the attributes of Allah the Exalted, that they must be like this or that, without claiming them to be similar to something else. This belief is also falsehood based on textual and intellectual evidence.
So the takyif, you're not giving a similarity, but you're giving something which is that estimated. So you're saying his hand is as big as this, as tall as this. You're not giving him saying the hand is looking like a human being or an animal. This is called takyif. Allah Azza wa Jal rises above the throne in the following way. You step down from your chair, for example, and say, this is the way. Okay? So you're giving a description to the attributes of the Almighty Azza wa Jal without giving the similarity over to somebody, to something, or to a human being or an animal. And this is also falsehood. And the proof for that, intellectual and also from text. From the text, Allah says, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِهِ عِلْمًا. Also Allah says, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ كُلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. Translate.
And they cannot encompass his knowledge. And do not follow what you have no knowledge of. Verily the hearing, the sight, and the heart, you will all be questioned about each of them.
Continue.
And it is well known that there is no knowledge available to us about the specific details of the attributes of our Lord, as He, the Exalted, has only informed us of them and has not informed us of their specific details. Therefore, seeking to know their specific details would be considered following after what we have no knowledge of and speaking with what it is not possible for us to understand.
Right. You need to understand here that when we say without takyif, which is here that we are negating that the attribute has got no case, no description of how does it function, or we are negating that we have got no power, no strength to go and understand those attributes. So which one are we negating here? When we say bila tamthilin wala takyif, without case, are we negating here the affirmation of the case, or are we negating that we can't go and get the description of this case? Which one? Second. Because there is not a single attribute except it's got a case. How can it be? Allah's got a hand. How to have a case? How? How it look like? So we affirm the case. There is a case. But the case is being hidden from us. Allah did not say it to us. Why? Because our mind does not comprehend. It's beyond our mind. The case is beyond our mind. You see, which is of all the senses that has the most powerful tool to make you aware of something? See, that's the most powerful one. See, when I say to you, for example, such and such person, it looks like this and looks like this, and I give you lots of description. Is it the same when I say to him, there he is, by the way? Which one is more affirmed and more described to you? When I say to you, there he is, or I give you all description of it. Which one? You see, sit. Because my description is not going to reach the perfection of me seeing it. Okay, when you see him, you see everything. Right. When Allah said, لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار. لا تدركه الأبصار. The eyes cannot catch him. cannot catch him. So I can't, with my basar, catch Allah Azza wa Jalla. I can't. I cannot know attributes, how do they function. I know that Allah's got a hand, it's got a face. Allah's got a finger, it's got a foot, it's got a shin. He's got two eyes. I know that, but I don't know how do they function, how do they look like. Allah comes, I don't know how he comes. Allah descends, I don't know how he descends. But I affirm that there is a how. You have to know this is very important. We don't negate that there is no how. No, there is a how. We negate, we cannot comprehend this how. We cannot really envision, because see, this is not knowledge. وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ. Do not, embark upon something which you have knowledge of. If I told you, for example, what is in my car, in my glove compartment, right? In my glove compartment. What is in my glove compartment? Okay, some people have made you have a torch, you have keys, you have some cheese, you have whatever. Now you might hit the target, you might not. You might not hit the target because you give everything, but still you haven't got the right thing, which is in my what? In my glove compartment. Yet, in the glove compartment, you are aware of the size of it. So no way is going to come to your mind that there is a car inside my glove compartment or an elephant hidden in my glove compartment. But yet still you can't figure out exactly what is in there. How about the Almighty Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? I don't know, except what Allah told me. So I cannot figure out how did he make istiwa? What was above the throne? How? That is why this how is being taken away from my knowledge. I have known because it's beyond my knowledge. And it's been hidden from me. It's from ilm al-ghayb. It's like what happens in the grave. What happens in the grave? I don't know. People go and visit one another. I don't know how. I've been told. But I don't know how. How is he going to sit down for the Munkar and Nakir and ask? I don't know how. Same life. Now, somebody might say, you are belittling the intellect here. You are making the intellect as something, لا تدرك العقول, لا تدرك. يا أخي, no, I'm actually elevating the intellect. Because if the intellect, the brain goes into something that it has no space into it, it's not positioned for him there, okay, then I am actually absorbing my intellect. I am respecting my intellect. I'm not going to let my intellect go into something that he has no knowledge of. Okay? This is ghaib. I don't know anything. So you telling me, I am actually making my brains below my feet, my foot, below my shoes when I don't really, do something about the attribute. Attributes are from Allah and His Messenger. When we say that the brains has got nothing to do with it, that means it's not, by the way, not to comprehend, to contemplate. تفكروا في آلاء الله. Contemplate and think. Because أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها. Contemplate. But contemplation doesn't mean that you go and give Allah Azza wa Jalla an attribute from your pocket, from your brains. The attribute has to be from where? Allah. Something from the text, as we're going to see, inshallah. تفضل يا أحمد.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Intellectual evidence. The details of something's attributes can only become known to us after having knowledge of the details of the thing itself, or by knowing about it.
Of the thing?
Of the thing itself.
No, it has to be of the essence. No.
Of the essence itself, or by knowing about it through descriptions of something similar or equal to it. All of this is clearly impossible with regards to the details of the attributes of Allah, the Mighty and Majestic. Thus, it is binding to reject takyif.
Right. So the intellect says to us that why we cannot comprehend this kayf is that to know the kayf how, you need to know how the essence. You don't know the essence, then you don't know how the cave. If I tell you a hand, but I don't tell you the hand of what, would you be able to know how the hand functions? You don't. I could be talking about the hand of the frog. If you knew how the frog, how he functions, then you would start, oh, he hops with his hand like that, isn't he? Because you've got the essence now. But if you don't know the essence, how can you give a cake how the attribute functions? That's what he's saying. So he says that because we don't have the knowledge of the essence, how it looks like, also we don't have the knowledge of something or someone who is similar to the Almighty, is same as Almighty Azza wa Jalla, so you could compare with him, or we don't have anything from Al-Khabar al-Sadiq, which is Quran and Sunnah, nothing to tell us how the attributes of Allah functions. So if all of these are not there regarding the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attributes, then it entails, it is falsehood to give a case how Allah's attributes function. And also,
Furthermore, which specific details about the attributes of Allah the Exalted are you able to estimate? Whatever specific details you estimate in your mind, then Allah is greater and more lofty than that. No matter what details you imagine, you are a false claimant, since you have no knowledge of what you claim. So now you understand.
Here the word used can. Kadhib means whatever you say is not the fact. It's not what is the khilaf al-waqa'. Al-kadhib khilaf al-waqa'. Or something you said which is false or wrong. That's kadhib. So he says here that now how you're going to make the estimation of the attributes of Allah? How? Because any how that you imagine for the Almighty, Allah is above that. Allah is above that. So if you've given him the how to anything, you give it with no knowledge, and definitely you are making something which is wrong, false.
So now you understand the obligation of refraining from guessing about the specific details of Allah's attributes in your heart, speaking with your tongue based on that, and from acting by that with your limbs.
Right. So he says here you should keep away from discussing this matter of how Allah rose above the throne, how Allah's face looked like, how the hand looked like and functioned, how. Keep away from this. Whether it is taqdeer by imagination. Say, yeah, he's like this and like this. That's called taqdeer, estimation. Or taqreer, that is by your tongue. You're saying such and such. Not in your reply now with your tongue. Or tahreer with writing. All of that you should keep away from indulging into the how of the attributes. Now we come into a good example. It's been said to us by Imam Malik. Fadal.
When Imam Malik, may Allah have mercy on him, was asked about the statement of Allah the Exalted, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-Arsh istawa, the All-Merciful ascended above the throne, he was asked, how did he ascend? He put his head down until he began sweating, and then said, the ascension is not unknown. The details of it are incomprehensible. Believing in it is obligatory, and questioning about it is an innovation.
Right. Imam Ahmad, somebody came and asked him, Ar-Rahman al-Arsh. Allah, Ar-Rahman, risen above the throne. So he said, then how did he rise above the throne? Imam Ahmad, أطرق برأسه. Imam Malik. Is it Ahmad? So Imam Malik. And because there is a saying for Imam Ahmad as well. Imam Ahmad as well was asked the same thing. Imam Malik, he put his head down and sweat came to his head. Why sweat? Because the question is heavy. You know? And by the way, like Imam Ahmad had said, it was asked, Imam Ahmad, I'm going to ask you something which is easy. So Alan said, there is something easy in religion, because إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا. It's a heavy saying from Allah. So how can it be simple? Can it be something easy? Imam Ahmad was asked the same question. How did Allah? Each one gave a different answer. This answer, Imam Malik, after he's sweating, and he said, Al-Istiwa'u ghayru majhul. Another narration, Ma'lum. Rising is known to us, a word which has got a meaning, rise, ala. Okay, so we know the word ala has got more than four meanings. Okay, so we know that word is one for us, غير ممكن. As والكيف غير معقول. Another narration, كيف مجهول. غير معقول, that means we cannot comprehend. It's incomprehensible. Something beyond our brains. We don't know how the essence look like. Then he says, well, yes, you have to believe it. It's an ayah from the Quran. And you have to believe that there is how Allah Azza wa Jal rose above the throne, but we don't know how. وَالسُّؤَالُ عَنْهُ بِدْعَةٌ. Companions, the Prophet never asked about that. That's why it's in the bid'ah, innovation. Another narration, Imam Malik said, take him out. He's a mubtadi' person. He is an innovation. Take him out. Imam Ahmad, he gave an answer, which is like an answer which makes a person demolish his argument. How did Allah استوى؟ كيف استوى؟ قال الإمام أحمد أخبرني كيف هو أقول لك كيف استوى. Tell me how he looked like. Definitely I will be able to tell you how he had risen above the throne. If you can't tell me how he looked like, I can't tell you how he rose above the throne. End of argument. Plus, kill the argument. Another one, which is, that is, the Sheikh of Malik Rabi'ah, he said,
and it has also been narrated that his teacher, Rabi'ah, also said, his ascension is not unknown, and the details of it are not comprehensible.
go.
The people of knowledge.
If I don't stop, Ahmed, I don't elaborate.
The people of knowledge after them remained upon this understanding. If the specific details cannot be rationally deduced, and there are no texts of revelation in the matter, then both kinds of evidence, textual and intellectual, are absent. So it is binding on us that we refrain from speaking in these cases.
Right. So if you say the case is incomprehensible, and there's no text in the Sharia, something to do with the Shara, Allah's messenger, told the companion to ask about the how, you had approved it. Then he says that the two proofs for that are not there, which is al-aqli wa shari, intellectual and also the religious one. So we should stop indulging on something to do al-kayf. Go ahead.
So I warn you about takyif. I warn you about it, since if you were to seek after the details of Allah's attributes, you will fall into a trap that you would never be able to escape from. So if shaitan whispers about it into your heart, then know that it is from his evil whisperings, and seek refuge with your Lord, for verily with him is your refuge. Do what he has ordered you to do, since he is your doctor. Allah has said, وَإِمَّا يَنزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. And if an evil whisper from the shaitan comes to you, then seek refuge with Allah. Verily, he is all-hearing, all-knowing.
Right, so the conclusion of this sixth principle, if you have to, if you want to affirm the attributes, to keep away from tamthil and takyif. Now we go to the seventh principle, follow me.
The seventh principle concerning Allah's attributes. The attributes of Allah are tawqifiyya. There is no place for intellectual free thinking regarding them. Knowledge of Allah's attributes are tawqifiyya, meaning that you do not seek to establish attributes for Allah except that which is affirmed in the book and the sunnah. Imam Ahmad, may Allah have mercy on him, said, Allah may not be described except with what he has described his own self with, or with what his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has described him with. This cannot go beyond the Quran and the Hadith. Refer back to the fifth principle concerning Allah's names. Attributes are established for Allah from the book and the Sunnah by one of three ways. Number
Stop.
one.
Stop. Right, so the seventh principle in the attributes is equivalent to the fifth principle done in the names, which are Sifat and Asma. All of them are Tawqifiyya. Tawqifiyya means Quran and Sunnah, nobody else. لا مجال للعقل. No way that you can use your intellect. What does that mean? I can't think about how beautiful the names are, how beautiful the attributes. No, that means I cannot use my brain to derive a name or an attribute. Now, we have said, if you remember, in the circles of the name is tighter than the circles of what? Of the attributes. Where is this sort of, you could say, enlargement of the circle of the attributes coming from when we have agreed that there's a similar principle between the two? Both has to be from Quran and Sunnah. So why the attributes are being circled? Because you see, the names, when it comes, it has to be said with the name itself, not driven. Name for Allah, Al-Ghafur, Al-Rahim, Al-Afu, Al-Qadir, has to be mentioned. Whereas the attributes, because they are, as have become larger, but we could not just, as we're going to see, from the three things which can be derived the attributes, it's not just that Allah specified the attribute. No, you could derive it from each name. You could derive from each name one or more attributes. Not only that, you could derive an attribute from an action. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا. The Lord came and the angels are in rows. Here, the action that Allah came. I could derive from that the attribute of Allah coming, Al-Majid. So it there's no word Al-Majid, by the way, in Quran or Sunnah. Sifat al-Majid in itself, like this, driven, like Al-Wujud, existing. It's a Sifat al-Wujud, Allah exists. Is there any Quranic verse? No. Sunnah of the Prophet? No. But it's driven it from the actions. No problem. What is the name? It has to be specified. That's why the circle of the attribute is larger and is more encompassing. Let's go to the three things by which we can derive the sifa, the attribute from the Quran and the Sunnah.
Attributes are established for Allah from the book and the Sunnah by one of three ways. Number one, the attribute is clearly mentioned, like honor, strength, mercy, his striking, his face, his two hands, etc.
Right, so those are mentioned by the name. Allah mentioned Al-Izz, Al-Aziz, Al-Qawi, Al-Rahim, Al-Batsh, Al-Wajh, Abqa Wajhu Rabbik, Al-Yadayn, Lima Khalaqtu Al-Yadayn, and others mentioned by Isa. So that's number one. Number two.
Number two, it is derived from one of his names, like how Al-Ghafur, the ever-forgiving, includes forgiveness, and As-Sami', the all-hearing, includes hearing, and so on. Review the third principle concerning Allah's names.
All names of Allah, including Allah itself, has an attribute. Allah's got the attribute of al-uluhiyyah. All names is not jamid. All of it mushtaq, we're going. Remember, mushtaq means right. Allah has to have an attribute. There's no such thing, a name without an attribute.
Thirdly, it is directly understood from an action or a description, like number one, his ascension over the throne. Number two, his descent to the lowest heaven. Number three, his coming to judge between the servants on the last day. Number four, his retribution for the acts of the criminals. The proofs for these attributes are as follows in order. Number one, Allah, the Exalted, has said, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-Arsh istawa. The All-Merciful ascended above the throne. Number two, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Our Lord descends to the lowest heaven. Number three, Allah has said, وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا. And when your Lord has come with the angels rank after rank. And number four, Allah has said, إِنَّا مِنَ الْمُجْرِمِينَ مُنْتَقِمُونَ. Verily, we will get retribution from the criminals.
Jazakallah khairan. We have finished now the Qawaa'id. It says here that the last one is actually what we derive, as we said, the action. Ar-Rahman ala al-Arsh istawa. The Lord has risen above the throne. So the attributes of rising taken from that action, and so on and so forth. But finish, alhamdulillah, with the seventh principle of the attribute. Now, do you have, Ahmad, the translation of the remaining, which is قواعد في أدلة الأسماء والصفات?
Yeah, Sheikh.
Okay. Well, we'll leave that, inshallah, for next time. We'll discuss now with the brothers all the names and the attributes together. If you have any questions regarding what you've heard, what time is it, Isha? 9 o'clock. 9:30. Oh, good time. Alhamdulillah. Right. At 9:30, and what time did they come in? Remember, I just came 3 days ago from Abu, so I don't know. What time does it come in, Isha? 9:05. Okay, good. So if you have questions, please, regarding what we heard. Otherwise, we're going to continue. I don't want to continue with something that make it heavy for you. We understood, alhamdulillah. Let me just repeat all the principles for the names and attributes. First principle for the names that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names are, all of them are beautiful. Second principle, Allah's names are to be a'lam wa awsaf, meaning they are names and plus they are attributes. Thirdly, Allah's names, they are in the third principle. I'm just going to put it out here. Right. Third principle, that the names of Allah Azza wa Jal, then if it is has to describe an attribute, then it will be on 3 things, which we have also discussed. Fourth principle, the asma of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an indication of his essence and his attribute. It could be by the mutabaqa or at-tadammun, and we have explained that as well, or it could be with the iltizam. Fifth principle, Allah's name is tawqifiyya, means from Quran and Sunnah. There's no way for the intellect to involve. Sixth principle is Allah's name are not to be limited to a specific number. Seventh principle, that make it ilhad, which is like ilhad is heresy in the names of Allah Azza wa Jal, which is to take it away from what it's supposed to be. And then we talked about the sifat attributes. First principle, all of them to be sifat perfection. There's no deficiency. Second principle, that the sifat is wider than the names. And the third principle, the sifat of Allah divided into 2 categories. One which is affirmation, the other one is negation. Fourth principle, sifat, the one which is affirmation, is all of them sifat which are attributes of praise and perfection. Fifth principle, that the affirmed attributes also divided into 2 categories. One which is to do with the essence, and the other one which is to do with the actions. The sixth principle we discussed today, that it has to make sure that when we affirm the attribute, we keep away from a tamthil and takyif. And the seventh principle, the last one, that the similar of the fifth one of the asma, which is that sifatullah, attributes of Allah, also are from Quran and Sunnah. It's nothing to do with the intellect to derive an attribute to the Almighty Azza wa Jal. Right. Now after that, we're going to be, inshallah, maybe discussing Qawaa'id fi Adillah Asma wa Sifat, or maybe we're going to choose another book. We'll see, inshallah, next time. Right. Any questions? Tafadhal. Let's ask the question, but I don't want to repeat. Here. Are you cold, guys? Hang on.
All of the names, also
the question is that all the names of Allah is all the attributes, or all the attributes of Allah is what? Not all derived from the name, could be derived from the actions, you remember? Yes, if you derive from the name, you derive from the actions. And we have as well name as attributes which is being specified by itself. So when Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, Al-Aziz. It's a name, and these are all also it involves the attribute. So Al-Aziz and a name and an attribute as well at the same time. Some of the attributes are derived from the action, like we said, Al-Majid, okay, is derived from Ja'a. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَوًّا. صفة الاستواء came from Ar-Rahman al-Arsh istawa. So it's not derived only from the names. But there is also, maybe you're asking, is that the same thing as they are not jamid? They're not jamid. They are mushtaq. Yes, they are not jamid. Because jamid means it doesn't have a meaning. How can an attribute doesn't have a meaning? It's a meaning in itself. You understand? نعم. زين. تفضل يا حبيبي. You don't have a question. Okay, anybody else? I'm really, I will be thrilled that if you have any question that would really trigger us to go and scratch our brains. Oh, you've missed the whole series. Okay. Right, Ahmed, do you have anybody got questions here? Because I can't see anything onto my screen.
No, Sheikh, there's no questions here.
All right, no question. طيب يا اخوان. Inshallah, when we... Okay, Ahmed, would you like to go ahead? We will have some time for 10 minutes. Go ahead and explain to us. Continue with قواعد الأدلة. So we're going to go قواعد في أدلة الأسماء والصفات. That means principles regarding the proofs which indicates the names and the attributes. How do we have these proofs? What are the principles to make this as a proof or not? Follow.
Principles concerning the textual evidences that establish Allah's names and attributes. The first principle concerning the evidences. The proofs that establish the names and attributes are exclusively found in the book and the Sunnah. The evidences used to establish Allah's names and attributes are found in the book and the Sunnah, and no names or attributes may be affirmed using other than these proofs. So based on this, whatever names and attributes that have been established by the book and the Sunnah, it is obligatory to affirm them. Whatever has
I think the principle is clear, very clear in itself, right? So whatever is in the Quran, the Sunnah, to be affirmed, we affirm. Whatever in the Quran, the Sunnah has been negated, we will negate it. So we follow the Quran and the Sunnah. So every proof has to be from the Quran or the Sunnah. Follow.
Whatever has been negated by the book and the Sunnah, then it is obligatory for us to negate that while we affirm its opposite as a perfect attribute.
We talked about that, if you remember. When we negate something, we affirm the perfection at the same time. Negation itself is not an attribute. So if you negate something, Allah has got no, for example, He does not sleep. Just like this, Allah does not sleep in itself is not a praise. To praise Him, you have to affirm the perfection of that, the opposite. Allah is life, has got the perfect life. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. So when we negate something in our mind or in our tongue, we affirm the opposite of perfection. Further.
Whatever has not been affirmed nor negated in the book and the Sunnah, then it is obligatory for us to remain silent about its wording, as it must not be rejected outright simply because of the lack of evidence regarding its affirmation or negation.
Okay, can you give an example for this? Al-Jism. When you say Allah has got a jism or Allah has got no jism, or that word jism means body. Did it come in the Quran? Did it come in the Sunnah? No. No negations, no affirmation. When somebody says Allah is not a jism, before we say to him, we agree with you, he's not a jism, we need to understand what does he mean by the word jism. If he meant the essence, of course Allah's got an essence, we don't agree with you. But if he meant jism, but he's got a shape, we are with you. He has got a jism. So regarding those words which hasn't got any negations or affirmations, to be careful. You don't negate because maybe that person means something into them. That's why you say, go ahead.
However, More elaboration is required regarding the meaning of an attribute not affirmed or negated by the book or the Sunnah. If its meaning is something befitting to Allah the Exalted, then it is acceptable. However, if its meaning is unbefitting to Allah, the Mighty and Majestic, then it must be rejected. Examples of Allah's attributes that must be affirmed are like those affirmed from His names by way of mutabaqa, tadammun, or iltizam. Other examples are the attributes understood from the mention of certain actions, like His ascent over the throne, His descent to the lowest heaven, or His coming to judge between His servants on the day of judgment, and other innumerous kinds of His actions down to every last single action of His. وَيَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ, and Allah does whatever He wants. Other examples of attributes that must be affirmed are His face, His two hands, His face, His two eyes, His two hands, etc. Others include His speech, His will, and His irada, what He desires. There are two types of irada, one that carries the same meaning as His will, kawniyya, and one that is based on what He loves for His worshippers, shari'iyya. Other examples are His pleasure, love, anger, disliking, etc. Some examples of attributes that must be negated due to the texts that have negated them, while their opposites are affirmed as perfect attributes, are dying, sleeping, slumbering, inability, ignorance, oppression, and heedlessness of His servants' deeds, or that there exists someone similar to Him, etc. An example of something that has not been established nor negated by textual evidence is the word jiha, position or direction. If someone asks about affirming a direction or position for Allah, the Exalted, we say to them, the word itself has not been mentioned in the book or the Sunnah. It has neither been affirmed nor negated by the texts. It suffices us that Allah the Exalted is above the heavens as has been established. As for the meaning, then it may mean 1, a position beneath things, 2, a high position still included within the created realm, or 3, a high position not within the created realm. The first meaning is falsehood, as it contradicts the loftiness of Allah that is affirmed in the book and the Sunnah, and by way of sound intellect, instinct, and scholarly consensus. The second meaning is also falsehood, since Allah is above being encompassed by His creation. And the third meaning is correct, since Allah the Exalted is the Most High above His creation, never being encompassed within His creation. The first principle is proven by both textual and intellectual evidences. Textual evidence. From the many textual evidences for this principle are the statements of Allah the Exalted.
Stop. Right, so here, give an example of some of the words which hasn't got any affirmation or negation in the Quran or the Sunnah, the word al-jihad. You know, when I say to you, where is Allah? You say to me like that. Or fi jihad al-ulu. Now, for me, this is a direction. Okay. So if I have been asked, is Allah has got a jihad direction? I would say, no, Allah is above everything. But for me, the jihad is not attributed to Allah, attributed to me, myself. For me, this is what? Jihad. For Allah, it's not a jihad. Allah encompasses. Allah Azza wa Jal above the throne. Allah Azza wa Jal above everything. Wherever you are, He's above you. So this is called Sifat al-Ulu, al-Fawqiyya. And remember, this is ulu, not just rutbah, ulu makana, meaning some of the Ash'ari say, we attribute the ulu as to be that He is high, but not high as in above. Because above means what? Direction. SubhanAllah. Direction for me, but not for the Almighty. Allah لا يحده جهة. لا تحده جهة. Allah is not limited by a direction. But for me, when I'm putting this, because this is a jihad direction, this is direction. But I'm putting this, and wherever I am, whether they are on the other side of the earth, I'll be doing this on the top, which is opposite to my direction, by the way. And the one who is in this face of the earth, it will be pointing, is above, is like that, and so on and so forth. So if I'm putting the earth and putting people on top of it, and each one points into his above, they will be all arrows coming up from all over the flown up. Yeah. Because Allah is above. Wherever you are, He's above. Right. So he says here, don't negate nor confirm, because you want to understand what is in jihad. What does he mean by that? So he says, if you really means that the jihad is jihad to sufr, meaning down, that's falsehood. That's not correct, because Allah is above. And if it is jihad ulu, it is above, but it is actually encompassing Allah, it's limiting Allah, also it's falsehood. Because Allah is greater than to be encompassed by anything. If it's the third one, which is above, and there's nothing to encompass Allah, this is the correct meaning. The proof for that, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَهَذَا كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ مُبَارَكٌ فَاتَّبِعُوهُ وَاتَّقُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. Meaning,
And this is a book that we have sent down. Blessed, so follow it, and be pious, so that you might receive mercy.
also Allah says, فَآمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ النَّبِيِّ الَّذِي يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَكَلِمَاتِهِ وَاتَّبِعُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَهْتَدُونَ.
So then believe in Allah and His Messenger, the illiterate Prophet, the one who believes in Allah and His words, and follow him so that you might be guided.
Read the verses, because I can't remember going like this and nobody.
وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. And whatever the Messenger gives you, then take it. And whatever he forbids you from, then abstain from it. مَنْ يُطِعِ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ وَمَنْ تَوَلَّى فَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ عَلَيْهِمْ حَفِيظًا. Whoever obeys the Messenger has indeed obeyed Allah, and whoever turns away, then we have not sent you as a guardian over them. فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. And if you dispute over anything, then refer it back to Allah and His Messenger, if you truly believe in Allah and the Last Day, for that is better and more suitable as a final determination. وأن احكم بينهم بما أنزل الله ولا تتبع أهواءهم. And that you judge between them with what Allah has sent down, and do not follow their desires. There are many other texts that prove the obligation to believe in what has come in the Quran and the Sunnah. Furthermore, every text that proves the obligation to believe in what has come in the Quran is also a proof that one must believe in what has come in the Sunnah, due to the direct orders found in the Quran to follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and refer back to him in disputes. And referring back to him sallallahu alaihi wasallam was done by going directly to him during his lifetime, and it is done by referring to his sunnah after his death. So where
very clear, very, very clear.
So where is the belief in the Quran for the one who is too haughty to follow the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the very one he has been commanded to follow in the Quran? And where is the belief in the Quran for the one who does not refer back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in disputes, while Allah has ordered him with that in the Quran? And where is the belief in the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that which the Quran has directed us to, for the one who does not accept what is found in his sunnah? And verily Allah has said, وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. And we have sent down upon you the book, a clarification of everything. It is well known that many of the affairs of the Islamic legislation of both knowledge and practice have been explained by the Sunnah. This shows how the details given to something from the Sunnah are actually from the clarification of the Quran, as referred to in the above verse. Intellectual evidence. Intellectual evidence, to say that something is binding upon Allah or something is impossible regarding him, or he may or may not do something, all of these are from the affairs of the unseen, that which the intellect cannot reach understanding of without revelation. So then it is obligatory to refer only to what is found in the book and the Sunnah.
Meaning that anything to do with the ghaib we cannot really make our aql to go and do whatever he likes and choose whatever he likes. Because it's right. It's unseen. That's what it means. It's intellectual, by which, alhamdulillah, we finish the first principle of the qawaa'id, the proofs regarding the name of the attribute. Inshallah, we'll continue next time, 2 weeks' time. And by this, we'll come to the end.